Do you ever get that feeling that something's kind of off with the stuff you're buying? You're spending the same amount of money, maybe even more, but what you're getting in return is kind of leaving a bad taste in your mouth. It's like ordering from your favorite pizza spot, only for it to arrive looking gross. You're not imagining things. It's not just about candy bars shrinking, which don't even get me started again about shrinkflation. We're talking about its sneakier and more frustrating cousin, skimpflation. The invisible downgrade that's quietly making your life a little bit worse and your bank account a little bit emptier for what you actually get. In this video, we'll find out what exactly is this whole skimpflation nonsense, ask how does it impact more than just our taste buds, and more importantly, show you how you can fight back. In our last video, we dove deep into shrinkflation. Remember, that's when the price of your favorite chips stay the same, but the bag suddenly feels lighter. If you haven't seen that one yet, you might want to go check it out first. It'll give you some really good background on what we're about to discuss. Skimpflation, on the other hand, is a whole different beast. Skimpflation is when companies skimp on the quality of the product or service. They use cheaper, lower quality ingredients or materials, or reduce the level of service they are providing, all while keeping the prices the same. Or sometimes even hiking it. Think your favorite dipping sauce suddenly tasting different because they swapped out a core ingredient for something cheaper. Or a hotel cutting back on daily housekeeping without dropping the room rate. So while shrinkflation hits your quantity, skimpflation attacks the quality and the overall value. And honestly, that makes it way more deceptive. A smaller package is noticeable, but a slow decline in flavor, or your new t-shirt wearing out twice as fast, that's much harder to spot. Companies rely on you not noticing these subtle changes. Imagine reaching for your favorite comfort food. You take a bite and something's just not right. Chances are, the recipe's been tweaked. Take the Smart Balance spread for example. Its maker, Conagra, drastically cut the vegetable oil content from 64% to just 39%, an almost 40% reduction, making water a more dominant ingredient. Consumers weren't thrilled when it splattered everywhere when frying and refused to melt on their toast, and all for the same price. The backlash was so big, Conagra eventually announced plans to return to the old recipe. And then there's the famous berry chantilly cake from Whole Foods. Fans were dismayed when individual slices became smaller and featured frozen berries and fruit compote instead of the fresh layered fruit they loved. People were pissed, with one customer even saying that the filling tasted like raspberry jam flavored cleaning products. Faced with intense customer outrage, Whole Foods announced it would reintroduce single slices with the original recipe. And it's not just fancy cakes. Scott 1000 sheet toilet paper rolls reportedly got so thin they were almost see-through. An investigation done by Edgar Dworsky of ConsumerWorld.org found the newer packages weighed a shocking 20% less than the older ones. Same sheet count, less actual paper. Substituting ingredients is a widespread issue. Whole Foods 365 organic honey and nut morning oat cereal quietly removed almonds, replacing them with organic natural flavor. Campbell's cream of potato soup now lists water as its primary ingredient, even though you still need to add more liquid. And Aunt Jemima, the syrup we all grew up with, can you believe it was actually made with real maple syrup at one point? Today, its main component is high fructose corn syrup, a way cheaper alternative. Even your cough syrup wasn't spared. Consumer watchdog Mouseprint.org exposed store-brand cough syrups, like those from Kroger and CVS, that looked the same size, but were actually diluted to give you half as much bang for your buck. The trick? They just changed the dosing instructions, telling you to take twice as much syrup to get the same dose. How sneaky is that? And keep an eye out for when they use terms like natural flavors. It may sound good, but it's often used to hide the removal of more expensive real ingredients or cheaper substitutes. Now, skimpflation isn't just for products that you can hold in your hand. The service industry, for one, is a master at skimping too. That feeling of paying top dollar for an experience that's kinda meh. That's service skimpflation. For example, have you noticed how hotels have cut back on daily housekeeping? Initially, they tried blaming the staffing shortages during the pandemic, but when travel rebounded, those services often didn't fully return. You got the same room rate, but with fewer clean towels, and you even get to make your own bed. How nice is that? And those breakfast buffets? you should now be prepared for cheaper, lower quality options. And what's with airlines? Complimentary meals in economy are practically non-existent anymore. And can you remember when you used to get free checked bags? They've also been slashing the staff-to-passenger ratios, leaving us to deal with even worse service and neglect, turning flying, which used to be a great experience, into a nightmare. Restaurants and fast food joints are doing it as well. According to data from Civic Science, over 40% of consumers have noticed a dip in food or service quality. Think longer waits, less attentive service, or change in food prep that prioritizes speed and cost over quality. And those self-checkout kiosks? They shift the labor cost to you, the unpaid cashier, usually, you guessed it, without a price cut. And have you ever been stuck on hold with customer service for what feels like an eternity? That's often because companies are skipping on call center staff. Fewer agents means more frustration. You'd think the happiest place on earth would be immune. But even Disney wasn't spared. They drew fire for removing free perks like their Magical Express airport shuttle that once brought guests directly to their resort at no extra costs. This happened while their ticket and room prices remained outrageously high. Talk about a clear downgrade on a service people had come to expect. Okay, so what's the deal with all this? Why are companies so eager to skimp out on us? The most cited reason is rising costs. Inflation, supply chain issues, and labor expenses can skyrocket, so businesses face a choice: raise prices and risk alienating customers, or find a less direct way to manage these pressures. Skimpflation presents itself as a tempting alternative. It offers them a way to absorb rising operational costs, or even enhance profit margins without an immediate price shock. When you're in a super competitive market, no one wants to be the first to announce price increases, so reducing quality can seem like a more discreet way to cut costs. But let's be real, it's not always just about covering costs. Skimpflation can be a calculated move to fatten profit margins. This is especially true in markets where there isn't much competition, or when companies figure consumers won't notice a subtle dip in quality as much as a price jump. These companies aren't dumb. They're very aware of something called a just noticeable difference. That's the tiny threshold where a change suddenly becomes noticeable. So, they chip away at quality little by little, hoping you won't really spot it, all while quietly boasting their bottom line. And this isn't just a few pennies saved by some mega corporations. For you, it's a direct financial blow. You are absolutely getting less for your money. And sometimes, skimpflation can have serious consequences for your health and safety. Those food product changes we talked about, they can have real nutritional implications. Using cheaper ingredients often means a shift to less healthy oils, a reduction in protein, or an increase in salt or lab-created fillers, which of course can have an impact on our health. Now think about healthcare. Shrinkflation in healthcare can mean reduced services, fewer staff, or less treatment options even as costs climb. This can lead to longer wait times, rushed appointments, and increased risk of misdiagnosis or inadequate treatment, directly impacting a patient's health and safety. Similarly, when insurance coverage shrinks, patients might be forced to skip necessary care or medications. These aren't just inconveniences, they can be a matter of life and health. So, are we just stuck with watery sauces and lousy service forever? Absolutely not. Not if we fight back. Knowing what's going on is your power, and paying attention, that's your superpower. Here's how to spot skimpflation and what you can actually do about it. First up, become an ingredient detective. Seriously, grab that package and take a good look at the ingredient list. Here's a quick tip. Ingredients are always written in order. From the ingredient there's the most of, right down to the least. Why does this matter? Well, if you suddenly see things like water, sugar, or another cheap filler climbing up higher towards the top of the list, ding 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 ding, that's a big clue. Or maybe that key ingredient you love, you know, the one that made it special, just vanished off the list and has been replaced by something vague sounding like natural flavors. Yeah, that is definitely a red flag. Next, trust your senses and notice changes. This one's pretty straightforward. If your favorite coffee suddenly tastes kinda watery, or that cleaning spray just isn't tackling that grime like it used to, pay attention. And you know when a package says new and improved? That's just a polite way of saying we've messed with the recipe, and not always is that for the better. Also, for items that you buy often, keep an eye on that weight, volume, and especially that unit price. By now we know skimpflation is mostly about skimping on the quality of what's inside, but sometimes they'll try to pull a fast one by also reducing the weight or volume. Remember that Scott toilet paper incident where rolls suddenly weighed 20% less? That's a classic example. This is why always checking the unit price is your secret weapon. It tells you what you're really paying for. Now, this one's a little sneaky. Watch out for dosing changes. Think about things like medications or those super concentrated cleaning supplies. If the recommended dose suddenly changes, like that cough syrup now saying you need to take twice as much liquid to get the same relief, that could be skimpflation trying to hide in plain sight. You're using more, so you buy more, but you're not getting any more value. Finally, read those online reviews. Your fellow shoppers are often first to snip out these kind of changes. They're usually pretty quick to share their experience online when a beloved product they love takes a nosedive. So dig into those reviews. They can be a goldmine of information. Alright, one more honorable mention pro tip for you guys. Have you ever seen your favorite ice cream suddenly now labeled frozen dairy dessert? That's an easy skimpflation red flag. To be called real ice cream, it needs to have at least 10% milk fat, which gives it that rich, creamy goodness. So when they start calling it frozen dairy dessert, that usually means they're now using less of that pricey milk fat and subbing it out with cheaper ingredients. Okay, so now what should you do when you spot skimpflation? First off, vote with your wallet. Seriously, this is a big one. If companies start skimping, take your money elsewhere. Believe me, plenty of us are ready to ditch a brand that pulls these kind of stunts. Next up, don't forget store brands or generic options. These can be your secret weapon. They often give you pretty similar quality, sometimes even better, but for a lower price. The next step is to tell the companies what's up. Yeah, actually reach out, let businesses know you've noticed the changes and that you're not happy. A quick phone call, an email, or even a post on their social media can make a difference. As we've seen, consumer complaints led to Smart Balance and Whole Foods reversing course and going back to their old recipes. And definitely spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your family, post about it online. Those consumer watchdog sites we mentioned, they depend on regular folks like us. Getting the word out there can really put pressure on these companies. And finally, let's try to support the companies that are actually upfront with us. You know, the ones that are open about what's in their product and that let us know when they make changes. Transparency really does matter. Because you know what? Our collective voice is powerful. When we speak up, we can really make these companies listen. It's all about shifting from just accepting what's on the shelf to really looking into what we're buying. It might feel like a little bit of extra homework to do while we're shopping, but it is so worth it. Now, I'm curious. What are some examples of skimpflation that you have noticed happening in your real life? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Stay savvy.